Hello, everyone. Welcome along to the Blood Red Morning Bulletin, your place every weekday live from 10 a.m. for the latest Liverpool FC news and transfer rumours. I'm your host for today, Patrick Smith, and as a last-minute substitution, we are now joined by Liverpool.com's James Martin. James, welcome along. How's things?
Yeah, all good, thanks.
Yeah, good to have you on. So, bit of news today and a couple of transfer rumours as well. But let's start with the news, shall we? So, I'm not sure if you watched it last night, James, but Howard Webb, Liverpool fan favourite, I know, was on Sky Sports' show. I think it's called The Match Officials Mic'd Up or something, basically talking about the VAR decision. And obviously, they were on to rule out Luis Diaz's goal for Liverpool in their 2-1 defeat at Spurs a couple of weeks ago now, I think it was. I don't know if you saw it, James, but what did you make of what Howard Webb said? Because basically, he didn't say anything really, did he?
That's it. Yeah, it's nothing new in any case. I suppose the only kind of bombshell, if you like, was that the ref apparently didn't know about it until after the game, which caught many by surprise, didn't it? We sort of all assumed the message had sort of filtered through. So I suppose that was quite interesting. Some people sort of question whether that's true. I thought it was funny that Howard Webb sort of referenced all the people sort of saying you can see the moment the referee knew, that kind of clip that went viral with the sort of look of panic on his face, but
he definitely knew.
Distance themselves from that. We'll have to decide who we believe there. But other than that, it's more of the same, really, wasn't it? They've fronted up to the error. They've said they've put changes in place. I mean, I don't know whether you saw what ESPN said happened in the Chelsea game last weekend, where the kickoff was taken in Chelsea-Burnley before the review was complete for an offside on Sterling. They just got away with that one because it turns out he was onside, so it was fine. So, this was the weekend where the new protocols were supposed to be in place. So, I can't say I'm necessarily too optimistic about these revolutionary changes that have apparently been put straight in. But, it's at least they've accepted the error. They've released the audio quickly, so we know it was an error rather than any conspiracy. It was just gross incompetence. That doesn't get the points back for Liverpool, and that doesn't really give any confidence that no errors will take place in the future. So it's a pretty unsatisfactory resolution, but I suppose it's a resolution nonetheless.
No, yeah, I mean, I did say it is baffling that, literally the weekend after it and the one where they brought up these new protocols, they did it again with the Chelsea match, as you say, James. It's, unbelievable. I think Simon Hooper wasn't refereeing the Spurs game. He definitely knew with that clip what he was told. Like, there's no way he didn't know until after the game. 100% he was told. But yeah, I mean, Howard Webb yesterday, it was just like, when they send a politician into, some morning chat show and they just try and get through it without saying anything. I think Howard Webb was just really trying to get through. I don't think Michael Owen gave him the exact grilling he potentially deserved.
I was going to say, how's he got that gig as the kind of holding the referees to account? He's no kind of hard-hitting journalist, is he? But it is what it is.
No, but that's what I mean. Like, you really want someone like a Carragher or a Neville. I mean, even maybe someone, an actual journalist, to properly grill Howard Webb would have been ideal. But of course, I think Sky must have a nice little deal, and it's all very friendly, wasn't it? And very jovial. I mean, I was like, come on, Michael, ask him a serious question here. But I mean, just still on this, James, they've talked about all the changes they want to bring in. I mean, we don't really know what they actually are. It seems that they're just saying we won't make a mistake again, doesn't it, really? Because they're not actually implementing anything new to how they operate, are they?
I mean, certainly nothing major. I thought the obvious change would be a kind of tweak to the protocol that means you can go back after a restart in kind of exceptional circumstances, but they've almost doubled down on Darren England's kind of "there's nothing I can do" attitude, which is frustrating. But I mean, I think as far as I can tell, what they've done is sort of made sure that there's a little bit more confirmation going on. There's a couple more stages in the process. So I think the VAR has to check with his assistant VAR now before relaying it to the ref. And I think it's not supposed to be just check complete now. I think they're supposed to confirm the decision they've made, which, it's I can't really believe it took an error of this magnitude for the people to realise that was common sense. But, I think, if that happens, it's I suppose a positive change, but the bar is kind of on the floor, isn't it? You'd have hoped they were doing that already, but maybe it'll help going forward. But as you say, it doesn't really inspire too much faith because we haven't really had any sort of root and branch change. We've just had the odd tweak here and there to try and brush it all under the carpet.
No, exactly that. And I mean, with this, they changed how they operated in VAR to speed things up, to speed decisions up this year. That's why the mistake they claim happened, because they are rushing through them now. As you see, it's absolute chaos when you listen to the audio of them making a call, isn't it? But they're now reverting back to saying, okay, slowly check complete. And I agree with you, James. I'm really, really baffled they haven't changed the laws, as Mike Dean was shouting at Paul Merson, that you can change it once a kickoff's been taken, the play's restarted. I mean, it's just such a simple thing. It doesn't make any difference. It's just incomprehensible how that wasn't the outcome of all this. But anyway, yeah, I'm sure there'll be plenty more to come from this. I think Howard Webb and PGMO will be thinking they've got off pretty lightly there after Michael Owen's nice little interview with them on Sky Sports. But anyway, let's move away from that, James, before I get more annoyed. Let's talk transfer rumours, shall we? So the one emerging today, Thiago Alcantara is reportedly a midfield target for Barcelona. The Liga champions, they basically want to strengthen the middle of the park. What do you make of this one, James? Because obviously, in typical Thiago fashion this season, he's been coming back from injury, picked up another knock. I mean, it's a constant theme. Would you potentially be looking to let Thiago leave in the summer?
Yeah, I think so. It's a tough case for renewal, isn't it? He's just not been fit enough, since he joined, really. But especially in the last year or so, we've just not seen him. It's a shame. We all know how good he is when he did play, and when he was fit, certainly in his first season or two, he was probably one of the most important players in the Liverpool side. But we have moved on to a certain extent. There was the midfielders who came in the summer. You look at that sort of number 8 role now, and you've got Dominic Szoboszlai. You could have McAllister if we're able to move him forward, maybe with another signing. Curtis Jones is doing really well. That means Harvey Elliott can barely get a look in. Ryan Gravenberch. So, it's especially with the wages he's on. It's hard to say that we hand the new deal to Thiago. I think, if it was the case that he was, already contracted for longer, then, there'd be ways to make it work. I made the case in the summer that he's a pretty strong contender for that number 6 role. If you look at his numbers, the way he plays, he actually profiled quite similarly to Moises Caicedo last season. But, you can't really commit to making it work with a new contract just because there's so many unknowns about his availability. And yeah, Barcelona would be nice, wouldn't it? I think it works well for all parties. I mean, at the moment, you look at a free transfer, and if someone decides not to go to Saudi Arabia, you kind of have to chalk it up as a bit of a win, don't you? I mean, it would be a nice move going back to where he was brought through at the academy. It's a fitting one, probably his final career move potentially. I'd be a fan of it, and I'd just say good luck to Barcelona and keeping him fit. That's all.
I mean, that's the thing there. The report goes on to list that Xabi's an admirer of Thiago, Jorginho, and Guido Rodriguez. I think that's Guido Rodriguez at Real Betis. I mean, because obviously they need to replace Sergio Busquets. I think Thiago could be that man to play the 6 of them. But as you say, the availability, you look at him, his last 12 months at Liverpool and go, you know what, no, I'm not going to give someone £250,000 a week to be injured half the season. As much as I love Thiago, I think he's an amazing player. I think he's played himself out of a couple of moves, but maybe a return to Barcelona would be a nice one for all parties, as you say. Just to round off then, if Liverpool were to free up this money on the wage bill, they could potentially sign another midfielder, and one they've been linked with for a while, James, is Andre Fluminense. They were linked to him in the summer, but basically the Brazilian side said they wouldn't sell him until they were knocked out of the Copa Libertadores. Of course, James, they've made the final of the Copa Libertadores, haven't they? So it could be a bit of a wait till Liverpool do get Andre over the line if they go for him.
Yeah, I think that's start of November. I think 4th of November, potentially. I might have made that up, but it's around that time. So yeah, it was always going to be January, wasn't it? Once we didn't get him in the summer, so I suppose we'll revisit it then. It's an interesting one. Obviously, I've not seen a great deal of him. I don't frequently watch the Brazilian league, but it's from sort of scouting reports and things like that. I guess I'm a little bit surprised that the interest is still there. I mean, I know he's a 6, but it sort of falls into that kind of controller 6 bracket, I suppose almost a bit like Thiago in a way. And I thought if we were going to go out and buy another midfielder, it would be a kind of specialist in the sort of Fabinho mould, if you like, that almost destroyer character. I mean, we did get Endo, of course, but you look at him, he's 30 years old. He's not played very much yet, even in games where you'd think Klopp might have been tempted to call upon him. So that does kind of look like a depth signing, doesn't it? A sort of stopgap until the right man really comes in. And maybe Andre is the right man. I certainly haven't seen enough of him to say that he is or isn't. But yeah, I suppose all I would say is I was maybe expecting a slightly different profile of player, but maybe that just shows you the sort of direction Klopp's going in this sort of Liverpool 2.0 he's been referring to. Maybe he does need that kind of ball playing ability from everyone in the midfield. I mean, McAllister being the 6 for most of this season so far does kind of, I suppose, hint at that. And yeah, I think Andre would sort of be the confirmation.
No, I mean, you made the point now I was going to make off the back of it exactly the same one. I mean, that's the thing, because Liverpool, typically would have said last summer they need to sign that Fabinho mould, a destroyer, proper number 6 who's going to, play deeper between the lines and intercept attacks. McAllister isn't that, and Andre definitely isn't that. I mean, this goal he scored, I think it was in the quarter-final of Libertadores, is an absolute worldie. He's clearly very good going forward as well, so it makes total sense if Klopp is, changing the 6-role to be a la McAllister. Fluminense, of course, I think they scored 2 very late goals to win the semi-final against Alisson's Club Internacional. Sorry, Alisson. And the final is actually at the Maracanã, which is their home stadium. And their manager is also the interim boss of Brazil, who's dropped Alisson Becker, James, in the last couple of international fixtures, didn't he? He picked Ederson for the last 2 games. I mean, are you hoping they win now after hearing this news, or are you still going to, maybe hope they can get across the line? Liverpool could sign a Libertadores winner.
Yeah, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? I mean, you saw the boost last season with McAllister at Brighton. He came back. I mean, he was good beforehand, but he came back almost a changed player. He was excellent in the second half of the campaign, closer to home. Liverpool saw it with Mane, won the African Cup of Nations, and then was pivotal in the push for the quadruple. So, yeah, people sort of rule out the intangibles, don't they, in this kind of era where you have so much data to call upon and the analytics is just excellent. But, there are still these unquantifiable things that make a difference. So I suppose it could give Liverpool a bit of an edge if Andre wins the Libertadores and then comes to Anfield on the back of it. So yeah, I suppose I won't really care, but I'll be vaguely rooting for Andre's side, I suppose. Yeah, why not?
No, I'm the same. I mean, absolutely. Like, when you look at these players playing in South America, I'm really bad for myself of just looking at the underlying numbers and the stats. But there actually is so much to say from, I think he's a 22-year-old basically guiding his team to winning a continental trophy. Can't be underrated, can it, at all? So yeah, hopefully he can get that one across the line. And hopefully his manager, who's also the interim coach of Brazil, picks Alisson this week. Maybe not on the second match, though, so he can be fresh for the derby. But anyway, yeah, that wraps up the show here, everyone. Thank you for joining myself, Patrick Smith, and James Martin. As I say, we are live with this show every weekday at 10 a.m. on the Blood Red YouTube channel, on Liverpool.com, Facebook, and Twitter. And make sure you go and check out all the written content over the international break. We'll keep you with your Liverpool fix with our brilliant writers like James. But yeah, thank you for joining us now. We'll catch you all again soon on the Blood Red Morning Bulletin.